Now here is an Inside the Eye feature from our global friendly outlet sources exclusively picked for Blue Eye Media. Learn the truth behind what mainstream and opinion outlets will never say. Get the inside facts of this chronicle.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett joining us on the show right now. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. It really is an honor. How are you?
I'm here. That's
Thank
the start. We'll see if they try to ship me off to Africa, but
I gotta, thank you so much for being here, Congresswoman. I gotta ask you this to start the news the last couple days. What do you make of Donald Trump's pardons of some of these January 6th insurrectionists that attacked police officers? Now ICE can arrest people at churches and schools, the diversity program, federal employees on paid leave. I mean, it disgusts me, and I'm sure it disgusts you as well. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, if I had to summarize what's taken place since he's taken office, is that the white supremacy movement is live and well in every single way. When you talk about the January 6ers, we know that many of them were members of or are members of white supremacy organizations, whether we're talking about the Proud Boys or whether we're talking about the neo-Nazis. I mean, this isn't me just claiming this is what it is. You can go out, do your own research, and you will see. So that's what we saw with allowing those criminals to roam, because they're not a problem so long as they're white supremacists. And so we also see with the whole, go kick them all out, like let's go round them up and make sure that they all leave. Well, my question is, and I didn't get to ask this question in committee earlier today, what exactly does a quote unquote illegal alien look like? Is it like ET? How do you look at somebody and
Right.
know? And I also did not get to share the story of a very close friend of mine who got married probably about 4 years ago. And she's a Caucasian woman. As far as I was concerned, she got married to a Caucasian man, and they've got these beautiful babies. Like, that's just what it was. Well, she texted me so freaking scared. And so she was like, I'm concerned for my babies. And I'm like, why are you concerned for your babies? And she's like, well, because my husband is Swedish. And I was like, oh, I didn't know your husband was Swedish. And she's like, well, he was born in Texas, but like his parents, like we don't necessarily know what their status was when he was born. And so, it's just creating this confusion and this chaos. And honestly, when MAGA goes out and they talk about kicking everybody out, I can definitely tell you that, especially in the state of Texas, they're not going to go and find her Swedish husband. That's not who they're looking for.
Oh, I know that. I agree with you. So, Congresswoman, I've always said "Make America Great Again." To me, feels like a slogan of "Make America White Again." They don't want people that look like you in this country. They don't want brown people in this country. They constantly attack brown people and those in the LGBTQ community. Do you agree with me on that? I feel like that's what the slogan really means.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. I mean, it is the beckoning call of white supremacy. And it really does feel like the Great Purge. I mean, even when we look at, how dead set they were on even things like such as getting rid of the Roe decision, when we look at the numbers, they really were trying to get their numbers up, because in this last census that we had, it was the first time in which the white population did not grow. It's the first time. I mean, even when we look at the state of Texas, they did add some white folk, but it was 180,000 of the 4 million that were added. And so it's the coloring of America that is their biggest threat. And that is why they will vote against their own interests. That is why they don't care about the price of eggs. That is why they're not asking, well, sir, you said, before day one, you were going to fix these prices. Why are you now, you wouldn't even allow us into the chamber to come and see you. Like, did you forget about us? It's never been about them. It's been about this very whitewashing of America.
Agree. Congresswoman, I'm sorry I even have to bring up this woman's name because I think she's utterly despicable, but just for argument's sake here, if people want me to bring it, Nancy Mace. I call her out every day. I think she's a show woman in an aspect. She just wants to raise money. And I think the way her attacks on the what does it say about her character that she tweets 200-300 times about trans women in bathrooms, but yet after a school shooting, maybe one tweet, thoughts and prayers. These are not serious people. And then she says, let's take it outside. And then she backtracks. Have you even talked to her since that conversation?
I haven't talked to her. We have nothing to talk about, to be perfectly honest, because if you're going to threaten violence against me while sitting in a chamber, and then again, act in a very lawless way, and you're able to get away with it only because you are enjoying white privilege, we ain't got nothing to talk about, right? Because I know that had the tables been turned, and if I had said, let's take it outside, regardless of what I meant by it, they would have not only kicked me out of committee at that moment, but they actually would have been moving to expel me from
Yep.
Congress.
Agree.
And so I know what it is. But I also did want to check to make sure I was correct when I thought that she was just trying to raise money off of trans folk. And listen, she's a cheap date because she's not even raising that much money. I mean, I'm just like, why are you doing all this? You're not getting that much money. She had 1/3 the amount of money that I have, and everybody knows that unfortunately in this country, until Kamala Harris was running for president, Black women have historically been the most underinvested in. So the fact that I am a junior member to you in Congress, and I'm a Black woman, and I have more money than you, baby, you need to come up with something else. But like going after the trans folk, it's really not even paying off for you. So like pick a new stick.
That's true. Congresswoman, don't shake her hand because she might wear an arm sling the next day. Just a little bit of advice there. I'm curious. Like, I've always looked at you as a fighter, right? You fight fire with fire. And we both have so much respect for Michelle Obama. When they go low, we go high. I understand what she was saying by that. But I've always said we need more Democrats in office like you. You are a fighter. You're not intimidated. I feel like there are some, and you can tell me if you disagree, some Democrats, understandably, that are scared of Donald Trump. They're scared. Dan Golden was talking about this, I think yesterday. They're scared to speak out against Trump because they're in fear for themselves and their family. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is a cult. And I hate that they have co-opted the Republican Party. There are what I consider to be real Republicans where we definitely disagree on policy, and won't necessarily find middle ground on certain things, but we absolutely work together where we can. And so I appreciate real Republicans. But right now, if you consider yourself to be a real Republican, then I'm telling you to run, honey. Run so fast, because MAGA is a cult. And what you have with cults is you have violence to make sure that you can keep people in line. And so while he doesn't necessarily have to do the dirty work, he has people such as the 1,500 people that he just pardoned from January 6th to go and do his dirty work. And so, yes, unfortunately, members like me, like Dan Goldman, like Eric Swalwell, like AOC, we absolutely get death threats. And I just want to be clear, anybody that wants this smoke, you can come get it. But if you survive it, because I am a Texan who is licensed to carry and who does keep firearms, if you survive it, you going to jail. Like, that's just what it is. So, I mean, you may think that your daddy Trump may come help you, but I'm trying to tell people that you really don't want to test it. I get that he just gave them a get out of jail free card, but if it means that it has to be my state prosecutor that comes after you and prosecutes you, because I can't trust that the federal government will prosecute you and then allow you to sit in prison and rot if that is what you deserve for the type of harm that you decided that you want to try to bring upon me or my family, don't worry about it. Because in my county, I got a prosecutor that knows what to do. And I can guarantee you, ain't no MAGA coming up in Dallas County no time soon to serve as my prosecutor. So, I just want to say, y'all just better be careful.
Couple more quick questions for you, Congresswoman. I know you got to run. I'm curious, if you were in a room and you had a chance to speak privately with Donald Trump, and I'm not saying you would even want to do that, but if you got the opportunity, I'm curious today, Congresswoman, what would you say to him to his face?
I have no words. I wouldn't even waste my time. I will tell you that there are definitely people that serve in this chamber, as well as when I was in the state house, that are performative politicians. They do this all in performance. In fact, I had an actual friend of mine who's a Republican text me and say, oh, good, we're going to be on a committee together. Can we fight? Let me tell you, there are performative politicians. This guy is pure evil. We saw just yesterday when I'm sure everyone has seen the clip that has gone viral of the bishop that tried to make a plea for mercy to him. And he was almost indignant that he could be in church and listen to someone who believes in mercy. And so this is a guy that peddles Bibles and has no idea of what it means to really embody Christianity and what it means to have compassion and love and look out for those that really need the most help. Like he has no idea. Instead, he really is pure evil walking. And so I wouldn't waste my time because I don't think it's performative. I absolutely believe that he's just pure evil.
I agree. Last question for you, Congresswoman, and thank you again so much for the time. Really appreciate it. We see you guys in public in hearings, but I'm curious. I had Eric Swalwell on the show not that long ago, and he said Ted Cruz gave him a high five in the restroom and said, "You're doing a great job." It seems like some of these MAGA Republicans are very two-faced and phony. They know who Donald Trump is, as we do, but they just won't say it publicly. Have you had any of these Republicans privately talk to you, and do they seem like some of them seem like different people striking a different tone when they speak to you privately that you could share with us?
Not MAGA. No, not the MAGA ones. I mean, I do have other Republicans that vote for all of the terrible policies that MAGA pushed forward. Yeah, absolutely. But as far as the majority of the conversations I have with Republicans, they come up to me. They're usually very polite. After I had the little situation with Marjorie, there were men and women that were like, "We love your eyelashes." Like, basically, they didn't want that smoke. They went out of their way. To really, I've had them compliment how I dress. We've had conversations about our districts. So I will say that while I disagree with the fact that they failed to stand up for some really bad policies, and they kind of just fall in line, I will say that I've not had anyone that is MAGA, like the MAGA brand, that has been any different behind closed doors.
Just since you brought up Marjorie Taylor Greene, one last question. Obviously, the Butchbot comment, which I thought was hilarious, by the way, and she deserved it because she attacked your looks first. And I love your eyelashes too, by the way. I bet you JD Vance would enjoy it too. We know he likes a little bit of eyeliner, but that's another story for another show. Congresswoman, was that something that just entered your brain just in the moment, or was that something that you thought of before? I'm just curious. The Butchbot.
It depends on how you think of it. It went really fast for everyone that was watching on the internet, but the entire exchange was a lot longer as we were waiting on a ruling from the chair. And I was getting information from Jamie Raskin about how he was about to rule. So we actually still have the piece of paper where I wrote it down because we have notepads. So in the moment I wrote it down, but it wasn't like at that exact moment that she said it. It was right before I said it that I wrote it down, which some time had passed. So I did look over at her when I learned that the ruling was not going to go the way that it's supposed to go. And from head to toe, I dressed her down.
I'm glad you said that. It was great. Congresswoman, in closing, I think you're great. We need more Democrats like you in office. You're fearless. You're intelligent. I just think hopefully more Democrats will rise to the occasion like you have. Please keep up the great work. I love what you do. And I so appreciate your time. We know how busy you are. Maybe a month or two down the road. Gosh, we'd love to have you on again. And I appreciate you, Congresswoman. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a great one.
Thank you. You too. All right. There she is, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
Follow Blue Eye Media for exclusive insights and breaking news sources from global friendly outlets that you won't get from the mainstream TV and radio outlets of America. Learn how to play the flute of the globe and learn the real truth.